I still remember that night like it was etched into my skin. The moment I stepped into the dining room, I could feel it, the cold judgment in the air, the invisible weight of my family's eyes on me. The table was set beautifully, the lights warm, the smells of roasted chicken and fresh bread filling the room, but I barely noticed any of it. All I could feel was the tension, thick and suffocating, pressing down on my chest. My older brother sat at the head of the table, smirking as he casually flicked crumbs from his plate. My sister, leaning back in her chair, gave me a half smile that didn't reach her eyes. And my parents, they exchanged that look I knew all too well, the one that said, without a word, "You'll never be enough." I tried to keep my head high, tried to smile politely, but I could feel their mocking stares. Every word I had ever spoken about my dreams, every hope I had shared, seemed to hang in the air, ridiculed and dismissed. "You finally got a real job, or are you still?" My brother started, letting his words trail, filled with condescension. My heart sank, my sister snickered. "Honestly, I don't know why we even bother encouraging her. She's hopeless," she said, letting the word linger. "Hopeless, nothing." And then my cousin, sitting across the table, chimed in louder than necessary. "Maybe she should stop pretending she can ever be anything special. She's just nothing." Nothing, that word hit me like a cold gust of wind. My cheeks burned, my hands trembled, but I forced a calm smile. I pretended to eat, though the food tasted like ashes. I wanted to vanish, to disappear from the room, from the judgment, from the laughter that felt like knives stabbing into me. But somewhere deep inside, something shifted. A spark lit inside me. I realized something terrifying and exhilarating at the same time. I couldn't rely on anyone in that room. No one was going to see my worth. No one would support me. I had been underestimated, dismissed, and laughed at my entire life. And in that moment, I made a silent promise: one day they'll see. They'll have no choice but to see who I really am. That night, I walked to my room feeling a mix of shame and determination. Every laugh, every glance, every word, they weren't just hurtful, they were fuel. Fuel to prove to myself first, and to them second, that I was more than their judgment. I didn't know yet how, but I knew something had shifted. The storm was coming, and I would be ready. If you've ever been underestimated or doubted, hit the like button. This story is for you. Before that night, life had always been a quiet battle. I grew up in a family that had high expectations for everyone, except it seemed for me. My brother was the golden child, my sister always seemed to get everything handed to her, and I was always the one they overlooked. I remember my first big dream, starting my own business. Everyone laughed. "That's impossible," my father said. "You're better off getting a safe job like everyone else." My mother would nod silently, and my sister would snicker behind her hand. Even my friends tried to warn me, "Why are you wasting your time? You'll just fail." I worked small jobs, took every odd opportunity I could find. I stayed up late nights learning, researching, teaching myself skills no one believed I could master. I faced rejection after rejection, disappointment after disappointment, but I never gave up. Every no became a step toward something bigger, even if no one could see it. Despite my efforts, my family continued their quiet dismissal. Holidays, family gatherings, even casual conversations, everything was a subtle reminder that they thought I would never succeed. And yet I held onto a small, stubborn belief: one day I would make them regret underestimating me, not out of spite, but to finally claim my place in the world. I remember my first small breakthrough, landing a freelance project with a reputable company. I was ecstatic. I told my family excitedly, expecting encouragement. My brother rolled his eyes, my sister laughed, my mother shrugged. And my father, he said nothing, but I didn't let it stop me. Each small victory built my confidence. Each accomplishment was another brick in the foundation of my revenge, not the kind with malice, but the kind that speaks for itself: undeniable success. By the time that fateful dinner came around, I had achieved more than anyone in my family knew. I had clients, projects, recognition, but none of it had been acknowledged. That night wasn't just a dinner, it was a reminder of everything I had endured, everything they had doubted. And I knew, deep down, that it would be the catalyst for the moment I would finally be seen. Comment below if you've ever been underestimated by family. Your time to shine will come. The mockery that night wasn't just words, it was betrayal. My own family, the people I loved or thought I did, turned against me. They laughed at my dreams, dismissed my work, and made me feel invisible. I had always known it would hurt, but the sharpness of that betrayal cut deeper than I imagined. As I sat there pretending to eat, I realized something important. their laughter and judgment were not just unfair, they were deliberate. They wanted to remind me in front of everyone that I was beneath them, that I would never belong. And in that moment, I decided I would no longer let them have that power. The betrayal went beyond words. My cousin, who had once been a friend, sided with my siblings, mocking my accomplishments. Even my aunt, who had always seemed neutral, whispered under her breath, "She'll never make it." I felt a wave of anger, hurt, and disbelief, but beneath all that, I felt clarity. I wasn't going to beg for recognition or validation. I was going to earn it, and I was going to do it on my terms. That night, as I lay in bed replaying every moment, I began crafting my plan. Not revenge in the traditional sense, not to hurt them, no. My revenge would be undeniable success. My revenge would be the kind that left them speechless, questioning everything they thought they knew about me. Every late night, every extra effort, every sacrifice, it would all lead to one moment when the world would finally see me and they couldn't deny it. Hit subscribe if you love stories where the underdog rises above everyone's expectations. I started small. Freelance jobs turned into small contracts, contracts into larger projects, and slowly a reputation began to form. I learned every skill I could, networked, and pushed myself beyond what my family ever imagined I was capable of. I wasn't doing this for them, they would never truly understand, but I kept their disbelief in my mind as motivation. Each step forward was deliberate. I saved money, invested wisely, and positioned myself in spaces where success wasn't just an option, it was inevitable. The thrill of each victory, no matter how small, was intoxicating. I could almost feel the weight of their judgment lifting, replaced by a growing sense of pride in myself. And then the opportunity arrived, a meeting with my father's CEO, a man my family had always revered. This wasn't just any meeting. It was my chance to step into the room as someone they couldn't ignore, someone whose accomplishments they couldn't dismiss. I prepared meticulously, ensuring that every word, every gesture, and every detail of my presentation would convey confidence, competence, and authority. I imagined their faces that night, their laughter, their whispers, and I smiled quietly to myself. This wasn't about humiliation. It was about recognition, respect, and finally, being seen as more than the shadow they had always assumed I was. Like this video if you've ever worked hard in silence and dreamed of your moment to shine. The night of the reveal came. Another family gathering, another dinner, but this time things were different. I walked in confidently, carrying not just myself, but the aura of someone who had fought, endured, and succeeded. The table was set, familiar faces all around, but the laughter that usually greeted me was absent. I introduced myself to my father's CEO with poise. "Good evening, I'm Naeem," I said clearly, extending my hand. The room fell silent. He paused, then nodded, saying, "Ma'am," just one word, and the entire dynamic shifted. Every laugh, every mocking glance from my family was replaced with stunned silence. They couldn't comprehend that I had achieved what they had doubted. My sister's jaw dropped, my brother's smirk vanished. My parents exchanged bewildered glances. And for the first time, I felt the quiet satisfaction of someone who had not just survived, but risen above every expectation. I spoke about my accomplishments, my journey, and the challenges I had overcome. The CEO listened, impressed, and even asked questions that highlighted my expertise. My family had no choice but to witness the woman I had become, a woman they had mocked, dismissed, and underestimated. If this moment gave you chills, comment "ma'am" below to celebrate standing tall against doubt. That night, as I left the dinner, I felt something I had never felt before: pride, not just in my achievements, but in the journey I had taken to get here. My family's disbelief and shock weren't the point. The point was that I had proven to myself that I could succeed, that I was worthy, and that I didn't need anyone's validation to thrive. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't loud or aggressive. It's quiet, deliberate, and undeniable. It's showing the world who you really are, leaving no room for doubt, and letting success speak for itself. I learned that the people who doubt you, mock you, or betray you often aren't worth your energy, until you use their disbelief as fuel to rise higher than they ever imagined. And when they finally see you, the satisfaction isn't in their shock, it's in knowing that you stayed true, worked hard, and claimed your place in the world, no matter what anyone else thought. And that, more than anything, is a victory worth every struggle. If this story inspired you, subscribe and hit the bell to watch more stories of betrayal, resilience, and ultimate triumph.